I love you guys' generation. My sister went to Hampton from 91 to 95. That's how I originally got hip to HBCUs, and you guys' generation is just special. And then HBCUs at that time were so special. If you have to compare how HBCU were in the 90s and then this kind of renaissance that we've had over this last 5, 10 years, how would you compare the two eras?
Wow. I think, my parents went to Delaware State, so HBCUs have always been ingrained in my DNA. And I have this Hillman sweatshirt on because you talk about, them talking about Delaware State, and then I grew up in the '80s where those years I was very impressionable. So seeing a different world in Hillman, it was a big deal. So the comparison, wow. I just saw a meme on Instagram that said, I bet you the 90s, how it was in the 90s as a Rattler was something different. And I see everybody from the 90s like, yeah, it hit different. It hit different. It just was so, I think because we had, I don't know, the amount of pride we had. Nobody, everybody's talking about HBCUs now, but all we had was us and our community to talk about HBCUs and to understand the indelible mark it makes on your life and to really grasp the concept of community. That was the 90s, and you're coming out of that 80s era, and you're approaching the 2000s. So we just had that mix of a little bit of old and about to be new, but it was completely ours, if I can explain it like that in layman's terms. But I look back on that time, and I was at FAMU from 93 to 97. So I got like that, that early 90s, the latter part of the early 90s and the beginning of the late 90s. So I feel like I got that real sweet spot. But I think each era has its own personality, but the thing that brings us together is our love for one another, our love for our people, our love for our institutions, and knowing that this is something that we can always call our own. And nobody can take that away from us. Nobody can ever take that away from us. So I wouldn't say there's of course there's going to be a difference, because our 90s Rattlers going to be like, okay, yeah, y'all cute or whatever, but the 90s Rattlers, we got it in. But of course, the 80s Rattlers would tell us they're like, oh, we can still drive through set, all of that. So I don't know. I just think that there's always going to be some beautiful commonality amongst each era in HBCUs. And they're all equally as beautiful, and all of them have their own personalities. But that one thing that brings us together is our love for one another, our love for community, and our love for our schools, for sure.
Now, I'll tell you what I would say.
Okay.
I would say, since you were there from 93 to 97, it was because of you all that made FAM so great, because we won College of the Year in 97.
Yes, we did.
So you have class of 98 that came in, but they hadn't seen the College of the Year yet.
Mm-hmm.
My class was class of 99 coming in. And we had so many elite people, because when we were making our decision on what school we were going to, it was because you guys had set the standard.
Yeah.
From 93 to 97 for FAM to win College of the Year. Yeah. So we had so many talented people coming in 99. So we got a chance to experience the late 90s and then those early 2000s, which was just such a special time.
It's very special. I mean, but you talk to these babies now, like 2022, they be like, hey, this is my school, so it's all about perspective. And I love, you just reminded of it when you go back to FAMU, because everybody has their own era. Like, you're going to have the 90s parties, you know what I mean? You're going to have the late 90s parties. You're going to have the 2000s parties. And then now these new babies, they're going to have the 2015 parties, and everybody has their own, just those silos. But, it's the love is equally the same in each of those silos. It's just great. You see the smile on my face. Like, the way I feel about FAMU and my HBCU experience is something that I cherish it. I cherish it. And I'm a 10th grader now, and she came to homecoming with me and my husband this past homecoming, and she Yeah, I think she might be a Rattler. She might be a Rattler or a Bison, but she definitely is definitely going to go to a black school for sure. I'm about 95% sure.